What's up guys? Welcome back to the channel Hand Waving. Your friend Naruto What If Fanfic 2.0 is here again with a brand new Naruto fanfic that's going to change everything. Today's fanfic is titled, What If Naruto Inherited Madara's Legacy and Rinnegan Power? With Hinata, Part 1. Start this fanfic story. Konohagakure no Sato, the hidden village in Leaves. Outside the walls, the village looks peaceful. It seems so peaceful that travelers forget about their travels and decide to live within the village. The man who leads the village is also known to be a peaceful man. But looks can be deceiving. If a person looks deeper within the shadows of Konoha, they won't see a peaceful village. The peace is just a mask, a veil that hides what is truly behind closed doors, the real Konoha. Within the shadows, Konoha is corrupt, from the leaders of the village to the civilians. Men and women inside the village breed nothing but hatred. They pass on hatred to their children as if it was a good thing. Children are taught to hate by their mothers at a young age, and their hatred is passed on like the flu. At night, when the kind-hearted rest, the breeds of hatred awaken and become the demons they so despise. They lock away the love within their hearts, reserving it for those they believe to be worthy of it. On the 10th of October, the Kyuubi festival, they all celebrate the defeat of the great demon fox, the Kyuubi. The Kyuubi, the beast that killed their loved ones, destroying their home on its rampage. Their beloved Yondaime Hokage, Minato Namikaze, defeated the great beast at the cost of his life. The death of their beloved Yondaime is another reason they hate the Kyuubi. The 10th of October, the day that their hatred seems to gain new life even with their celebrations. It seems to speak to them to do evil things without pausing to think of their actions, it possesses them like demons. This day, they act on their hatred, they express their disgust in actions. On other days they just allow their hatred to grow inside their hearts, only expressing it in the form of hateful glares. But on this day, they expressed their hatred in the form of beating the Kyuubi's Jinchuriki, the child whom the Kyuubi is sealed within. While some believe that by beating down the child, they're hurting the Kyuubi, others think that the child is the Kyuubi reborn into a human child without its power. A few of the villagers believe that the child is just a prisoner of the Kyuubi, not the Kyuubi itself. Those that think that the child is the Kyuubi believe that their beloved Yondaime Hokage stripped the Kyuubi of its power before sacrificing himself. Uzumaki Naruto had short spiky blonde hair, blue eyes, and a white short-sleeved shirt with an Uzumaki swirl in the front, orange short pants, and blue shinobi sandals. He was the 6-year-old Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi, a human sacrifice. But to popular belief, Uzumaki Naruto was not a Jinchuriki, no, he was the Nine Tails. At the moment, he was now running for his life, with fear that no 6-year-old child should experience. Naruto wasn't aware of what was sealed inside of him. Nobody told him anything, they just kept shouting at him, saying he killed their loved ones. He didn't understand why they thought he committed such acts since he hasn't done anything wrong. It was only on his birthday that the angry mobs would chase him around the village and beat him within an inch of his life. But he always recovered in a day or two, no matter how fatal the injuries he suffered were. The other days they just stared at him with demonic eyes that made him feel unwanted, like an outcast, like he was some kind of disease. Their wicked eyes always weighed him down. They suffocated him. He used to cry at first because of the demonic eyes that always stared at him, but now he'd gotten used to them. He only cried when they beat him on his birthdays. Whenever he asked his Gigi why he always got those eyes from the villagers, his Gigi would always say that people hate everything they didn't understand. The answer always confused him each time he heard it, but he never asked anything further as the Sandaime would talk about something else. Running away from the angry mob was pointless. The villagers would always catch him no matter how fast his little feet ran, no matter where he hid. It was why he'd stopped running and simply waited for the pain to come. Today he would just receive the pain without asking questions. In the previous times when he asked questions, his questions seemed to infuriate them. They talked as if he knew what they accused him of. Even though he knew he didn't do anything wrong today, he would get beaten without saying anything or crying, for that matter. His tears always seemed to energize them, giving them more strength to beat him. Today he was going to try something different. Oh ho, the little demon has finally stopped running. Naruto said nothing. He knew that his words would aggravate the predicament he was currently in. Today, we are going to judge you for your crimes, demon. He would get judged even though he committed no crimes. What do you have to say for yourself? Each time before they beat him, they always asked him that question, and each time he would always say, I'm innocent, please don't hurt me. His words would get him kicked in the face and angry outbursts, you're innocent. You dare say that after killing my wife and my little sister? You aren't innocent, vermin. No matter the kind of answer he gave, it was always the wrong answer. Today he wasn't going to answer any questions. You will answer me when I'm talking to you, demon. One yelled, gutting him. Naruto coughed and looked up to the man but remained silent. He was going to get beat even if he answered the question. It served no benefit to him if he answered. Whatever action he did or the words he uttered seemed to infuriate the mob further. One man from the crowd took out a kitchen knife and stabbed him in his hand. They all waited for him to scream, but he didn't this time. Blood just leaked from his hand while he just looked at it. You're stubborn today, Kyuubi. Naruto's eyes widened in shock. He had heard of the Kyuubi, but now he was just called it. He was just a 6-year-old orphan. Well, now he understood why the hatred seemed to intensify on his birthday. Now that he thought about it, he was born the day the Kyuubi attacked. But why would he be called the Kyuubi? Everybody knew the Yondaime killed the Kyuubi. He couldn't be the Kyuubi, could he? Hey, you know we aren't supposed to say that. The Sandaime forbid it. Ah, that old fool can't do anything. You've seen how kind and loving he is towards the demon, yet we've been getting revenge on the demon for how long now? What has he done about it? Yeah, you're right. Let's just get our revenge and go back to the party before everybody goes home. Naruto clenched his eyes as the beating began. It hurt, but he took it all in without shedding a tear or making a sound. It was just temporary pain. He knew that he would be waking up inside a hospital in a day or two, and the first person he would see would be his Gigi. 2 days later, Konoha Hospital. Naruto couldn't move any part of his body, he couldn't open his eyes, and he didn't feel any pain. The only thing that seemed to be working was his ears. He could hear the sound of 2 voices speaking. He decided to just listen to what they were saying. Hokage-sama, why don't you ask Jiraiya-sama to come back and take Naruto out of the village? I have already tried that Kakashi, but he refused. When I asked him, he told me, I can't take care of a brat while operating a spy network, and besides, you know I'm not fit for the parenting role. Even when I pointed out that Naruto was his godson, he still refused. If it's okay, you can let me take care of him. I owe that much to his father. Kakashi suggested. No, you are important and of one of the strongest shinobi of the village. We can't lose you, not at the moment. Then what are we going to do? I don't really know, Kakashi. I just hope that Naruto remains sane despite all the hatred he has to endure. So you're just going to let the villagers who attacked him go without a more suitable and justified punishment again? There is nothing that we can do. We can't kill everyone who attacks him. If we did that, it would cause an uproar within the village. Go back to your post. I will talk to Naruto when he wakes up. Hi, Hokage-sama. The voices became quiet, allowing Naruto to process what he had just heard. Naruto knew from that moment that he had family, a family that didn't want to take care of him. A family that abandoned him. It pained him to acknowledge that fact. He still couldn't understand or come to a better conclusion on what had happened to his parents. What he knew was that the Sandaime knew them and was keeping it away from him. It almost broke him to think that they, too, might have abandoned him like his godfather. But he refused to dwell on that because he didn't have any proof. The Sandaime knew everything but had been lying to him his whole life. He wasn't going to tell the Sandaime about what he had heard, but he was going to ask a few questions that he would normally. He was going to keep what he had heard to himself. He was going to find out the truth one way or the other. He also needed to find out about his connection with the Kyuubi. The Sandaime will only lie to him if he asked. It was pointless asking the old man what he knew. It didn't hurt trying, though. 2 hours later, the third Hokage, Hiruzen Sarutobi, smiled when he saw Naruto's body began to stir. He cared for the boy like his own grandchild. It pained him having to witness what the village he leads acts like to a mere child. Naruto opened up his eyes and looked at his body. His whole body was wrapped up in bandages. If one did not know any better, they would think that he just escaped from one of the Egyptian pyramids' coffins. He looked at the Sandaime. "It's good that you're awake, Naruto-kun." Naruto nodded and looked down sadly before looking up at the Sandaime again. "Gigi, what did I do to make them hate me?" he asked sadly. He needed to see if the Sandaime could be honest with him. The Sandaime's smile dropped immediately. "Naruto-kun, people will always hate things they don't understand." The same damn answer. He hated that answer. "Why don't I have parents, Gigi?" "We have already gone through with that discussion, Naruto. Talking about it won't do any good. Now come on, let me take you back to the orphanage." His theory was confirmed. The Sandaime couldn't be honest with him. Naruto got out of the bed without saying a word and followed the Sandaime to the orphanage. A year later. Over the past year, Naruto lived as a cheerful person while behind the mask, he had a calm demeanor. Naruto had been able to find some answers he needed. His ways of getting answers involved getting lost in the Jonin lounge and overhearing their conversations. He had only been caught once out of the 5 times he had ended up there. Naruto couldn't get anything about his parents, but he had a depressing feeling that they were dead. The fact that they were dead would explain why he had no other family alive other than the godfather who abandoned him. A shocking discovery he made was that the Kyuubi was sealed inside of him. He didn't understand the concept of sealing or how it was done, but he knew that the Kyuubi was living inside of him. But it didn't make him the Kyuubi, it made him its prisoner. He now understood why the villagers always looked at him with hateful stares and their reasons for making his life miserable. Instead of seeing Uzumaki Naruto, they saw the Kyuubi. He didn't get why they would see him as the Kyuubi. The Kyuubi was just living inside of him. That didn't mean he was the Kyuubi. If he was only 7 years old and could understand that, why couldn't the villagers understand that? When he asked himself that question, he recalled what the Sandaime had always told him each time he wondered why he was hated. People will always hate what they don't understand. The Sandaime had been cryptically telling him that the villagers hated him because they didn't understand his situation. Despite knowing what he knew, his suffering did not end, it continued. It wasn't that he'd expected things to change after knowing why Konoha hates him. A group of villagers were on the verge of beating him up. Like last time, he would take the beating without complaints. The Sandaime had told him that he would always be hated because they didn't understand. Those words made him feel hopeless. They made him come to accept that his pain would never end. Naruto was backed against a wall in an alley just a distance away from his apartment. The Sandaime had given him the apartment because he had been kicked out of the orphanage, again. He liked his home despite it being cold and lonely. In his apartment, he didn't have to endure the abuse he suffered at the caretaker's hands. Today he decided not to roam around the village. He had stayed within his apartment all day. Unfortunately, he'd been dragged out of his apartment and thrown into the alley. Naruto looked at the demonic grins he was receiving from the mob. It was a small mob today. Many were not aware of where he lived. He closed his eyes and waited for the pain to come. He paused and waited, but the pain never came. He opened his eyes and looked around the dark alley. The mob had disappeared into thin air. He looked up and saw an old man in black with red eyes and a walking cane. The old man just stared at him without blinking. Naruto was quiet for a few moments before he asked, "Who are you?" The old man smiled at him and replied, "Your savior." Naruto stared at the old man. "My savior?" Those words repeated inside his head. "Why did you save me? No one in this village does something like that for me." Naruto's voice reflected his pain and sadness. The old man frowned at Naruto's words. It saddened and infuriated him to see Naruto in this kind of situation. "I could not stand and watch foolish men beat up a child," he replied with a small smile. Naruto smiled slightly. He bowed his head. "Thank you." The old man found it amusing. He chuckled for a second before waving Naruto off. "It's cold out here. Allow me to walk you home before you catch cold and more fools decide to attack you." Naruto looked at the old man curiously. No one would be willing to help him unless they wanted something in return. He tried to think of what the old might demand from him, for saving him. But his mind couldn't find an answer. "It's okay. I won't hurt you." The old man spoke sincerely. Naruto detected it because of the kind of life he's had to live. He had been forced to learn how to read people so that he might be able to know their intentions towards him. Seeing that the old man had no ill intentions towards him, he nodded and got up. They walked towards his apartment with the old man close behind him. No words were being exchanged between the two, they just walked in silence. Their walk was short. The alley Naruto had been dragged to by the mob was close by his apartment. Naruto opened the door to his apartment and stood there. Something was bothering him that he wanted to ask but was too afraid to. "Go inside," the old man exclaimed while pushing Naruto inside his apartment with a cane. Naruto gathered his courage and asked his questions. "Anyo, do you mind telling me your name so I can tell Hokage Gigi who saved me and what happened to the mob?" The old man gave Naruto a sharp look. Naruto shrunk down a bit and took a step back because of the fierce look he was getting. "Don't tell your Hokage anything about me. If he asks who saved you, tell him you didn't see who saved you," he said in a firm voice. Naruto nodded vigorously. The look the old man gave him told him that there would be consequences, should he say anything. "And as for the mob, I made it disappear." Naruto nodded, not even understanding what the old man meant. "My name is Madara," he said before disappearing like he was never there. He wasn't afraid that Naruto would tell someone his name, for he knew Naruto was a lot more secretive than he let people believe. Naruto stared at the spot Madara had been standing for a moment before closing the door on his way inside. The events of the day had been enough for him. He decided to rest for the day, everything else he would do tomorrow. With those thoughts, Naruto threw himself in on his bed. A few minutes later, the 7-year-old was snoring in blissful sleep. Hokage office. It was rare for the Sandaime to call Naruto to his office. Well, it was mostly because Naruto would always budge inside the office, uninvited. The Sandaime's office was one of the 2 places he could visit without someone kicking him out. For as long as he could remember, he had always been inside the office waiting for his Gigi to finish his paperwork so that they could get some ramen. He liked it because other than the Ikarakus, the Sandaime was the only person he could talk to even though the Sandaime kept things from him. He had no friends to play with since the other children hated him like their parents, but not everyone his age hated him, they just didn't befriend him. The children his age only hated him because their parents told them so. Parents would even tell their children not to play with him and stay away from him because he was terrible. They would say it even when they knew he could hear them. It was as if they felt no shame for their actions. In the past few days, Naruto had spent much of his time at his apartment rather than spending time with the old man. He thought it was why the old man had called him to his office. The Sandaime had a small smile planted on his face. He was happy. He had good news for Naruto. A part of him knew that the boy would be glad when he told him the great news. "Naruto, I have some great news for you." This got Naruto's complete attention. "I have registered you to the Ninja Academy so you can become a shinobi like you have always wanted." Naruto had always told him he wanted to become a shinobi. The Sandame's words replayed inside Naruto's head a few times before they suddenly sunk in. His eyes widened, and he jumped onto the Sandame and gave him the biggest hug he had ever given the old man. The Sandame chuckled, seeing Naruto's reaction. Naruto let go of the old man and gave him the widest grin ever. "Thank you, old. I'm going to become the greatest ninja to have ever lived in Konoha, that's a promise." Naruto yelled with a foxy grin and a thumbs up. "Sit down, Naruto. I want to tell you something," the old man said, calming Naruto down. Naruto nodded and sat down on a chair just in front of Sandame's desk. "Now, Naruto, tell me, what is a shinobi?" Naruto replied without even pausing to think. "A shinobi is someone who can do those cool jutsus," he exclaimed. The Sandame shook his head. "No, Naruto, a shinobi is someone who fights to protect their village, those precious to them. Shinobi do not fight for their personal glory, but they fight for the glory of that which they protect, their villages. The kind of shinobi you will become will be determined by the kind of heart you have, not the jutsus you have." He paused, looking at Naruto. He gave the boy an academy-rated description of what a shinobi is, though, with Naruto, he was not sure if the boy would even take in what he had just said. "I'm telling you this because, in a week, you're going to be starting your training to become a shinobi. You must know what you are getting yourself into." Naruto nodded. He understood what it meant to be a ninja, and he was ready for it. He needed to get strong for him to be able to protect himself from the village. He was not going to tolerate their behavior towards him forever. "I understand, Gigi. Naruto, do you remember that you once told me that you wanted to be acknowledged by the village?" When he was 5 years old, he had told the Sandame that he wanted to be the strongest ninja and get the village to acknowledge him. "By attending the Ninja Academy, you will get a chance to become a ninja. I want you to take the academy seriously. If you don't, you won't achieve your dream. Tell me that you will listen and take seriously what you learn in the academy," the Hokage said, trying to make Naruto understand how important it was that he listened to what he was going to be taught in the academy. He wanted Naruto to become a good shinobi, and to become a good shinobi, one had to listen well to the academy's teachings. "I will take the teachings seriously, Gigi, that's a promise," Naruto exclaimed with a wide grin. "Good. If you stay for an hour, I will treat you to some ramen." Naruto nodded and went to sit down. The Sandame knew that if there was something that Naruto could not refuse, it had to be ramen. The boy seemed to love ramen more than anything. He looked at his paperwork for a moment. "I won't be able to finish this paperwork before lunch. There are just too many of those papers to read and sign. Damn you, Minato, for dying without telling me how you finished your paperwork fast," the Hokage thought. "You know what, Naruto, let's go now. I will finish the paperwork when I get back," the Sandame said, getting up from his chair behind his desk. "Yes, ramen," Naruto exclaimed before rushing to drag the Sandame out of his office to the ramen stand. The Sandame chuckled slightly as he was being pulled out of his office by a 7-year-old. He liked this kind of moment because he had an idea that Naruto forgets about his hard life and focuses on ramen only. Ramen always got the boy excited. Treating Naruto to a few bowls of ramen was his way of ensuring that the boy was happy. He owed it to Minato to ensure that Naruto was happy. Naruto was a hero in his eyes, even though the foolish villagers refused to believe that. It was his job to make sure that the boy had a good life. He had already failed to make sure that the boy lived the life of a hero he was. Doing something like this was the least he could do for the boy. A week later, Naruto walked within the Ninja Academy grounds. He was wearing an orange jumpsuit he got from the Sandame, goggles on his forehead, and black shinobi sandals. He had a huge grin planted firmly on his face. He was thrilled that he was going to the academy. Going to the academy was what everyone in his age talked about. Everyone wanted to be in the academy, but he did not join the academy because it was a cool thing. No, he joined because he wanted to become a ninja and become strong enough to protect himself. The other kids joined the academy because they wanted to do ninjas do jutsus. They did not understand what being a ninja meant because they did not see what ninjas did on the battlefield. Their parents would never tell them about it since they do not want to scare them. He had the privilege of overhearing things that ninjas did when he had been lost in the Jonin lounge. The Jonins occasionally spoke about their missions, the guilt some felt for killing, and the pain of losing comrades during missions. He did not know what it felt like to take someone's life, but he did not hope to experience such a thing, even when he knew that being a ninja, he would have to kill to fight off his enemies. His time, overhearing things had taught him lessons that he would never forget for the rest of his life. He walked past a couple of parents saying goodbye to their kids. He did not know how they would respond, seeing that he was entering the academy. Entering the academy meant that he would become a ninja one day, making things difficult for them to get their revenge. When the parents saw Naruto, their happy looks and smiles melted. They were replaced by the faces of numerous deals of animosity. They were displeased. The mutterings began. I can't believe the Sandaime allowed it to enter the academy. What was he thinking doing that? It will only give the demon a chance to regain its strength. We have to do something about this before it gets too smart for its own good. I think I'll withdraw my son from this year's class. I don't want my son attending the same class as the demon. Hikaru, you see that boy? Don't talk or play with him. He is evil, do you understand me? Yes, Ka-san. Naruto's grin didn't disappear when he heard the words. He was used to the hateful comments, it was nothing new. He had learned to just live his life and smile like everything was okay. Even when nothing was okay, he still smiled like everything else was. Crying over the hurtful words wasn't going to solve his problems. Crying would only make him miserable. At least smiling infuriated them. They thought that he was ignoring them, and their hateful glares weren't doing their job. He continued on to walk inside the academy. The academy was huge and had a lot of students inside of it. Naruto looked around for where he was supposed to attend his class. Hey, it's that evil kid mother said we should avoid. Yeah, but he doesn't look that evil to me, if anything, he looks stupid. Who wears an orange jumpsuit? Who cares if he's evil or not, he's a new kid. We should teach him a few rules. Yeah, but not now. We'll be late for our class. You know how sensei is when we're late. Ah, I forgot about that. Let's hurry before we get yelled at. Naruto felt saddened upon hearing what his peers had been thinking of him. Even though some didn't care what their parents told them about him, they were still willing to hate him for no valid reason. Sometimes he hated what his life had turned out to be. The Yondaime was the one who cursed him. He was the one who sealed the Kyuubi inside him and left him to the vultures, who wanted nothing but to rip him into pieces. He had learned to hate the Yondaime Hokage for doing what he did. If the Yondaime hadn't sealed the Kyuubi inside him, he would never have had to experience the kind of life he experienced since birth. He didn't care if the Yondaime did what he did to protect the village. Konoha wasn't worth it. It didn't deserve him as a human sacrifice. They didn't know what it felt like to know that a giant nine-tailed demon fox is sleeping somewhere inside your body. Sometimes he had those kinds of thoughts, but he often stopped himself from having such thoughts. They didn't make him a better person. He walked towards his class and knocked. He had already been late by a few minutes. Enter. He heard and opened the large two doors. Each eye was looking at him. Some students were staring at him with blank expressions, some in apparent distaste. The stares started to make him nervous. Naruto walked over to the two senseis, who was standing in front of the class. Both the sensei's stares showed animosity towards him. The other sensei hid it well, but the other who had a scar on his nose did not bother to hide it. It was like Naruto to know that he did not like him. Naruto handed the man his registration form. The man looked at the paper before looking at him. He looked back at his class. Class, we have a new student who will be joining, he announced to his class, why don't you introduce yourself? Naruto nodded. Uzumaki Naruto, and I'm going to be the greatest ninja, ya know. Naruto shouted out. He heard a couple of snickers and snorts but said nothing, he just continued smiling. Yeah, right, no doubt you will be the greatest ninja, who knows when you do that, we might even wear a kill me jumpsuit like you. One student called out in evident sarcasm. Naruto noted it but did not comment. The whole class erupted in laughter. Even the senseis seemed amused by the sarcasm. Naruto just stood there with a wide grin while they laughed. That's enough. Nobody listened. I said that's enough. Now shut up. The scar-faced sensei yelled out, causing everyone to wince at the sound of his voice. My name is Yumino Iruka. Iruka introduced himself to Naruto. This is my assistant Mizuki. Now go take a seat somewhere so I can continue with my lesson. Naruto nodded and walked towards the seat at the back of the room beside a window. He took his seat and looked back at Iruka. Now where was I? Yes, I was teaching you Konoha's history. Naruto stopped listening and looked outside the window. He was not interested in the village's history. The history did not ensure his survival, but ninja skills ensured that he would survive. He entered the academy to get the ninja skills he needed, not to learn history. If someone could have been willing to teach him, he would never have registered at the academy. No one was really willing to give the demon power. They feared that giving him power would only give him a chance to finish what he started 7 years ago. It almost amused Naruto that they hated him and feared him simultaneously. They hated him for the Kyuubi and were not afraid to express their hate, and yet at the same time, they feared that the sleeping beast would someday wake up and devour them. Even though their hatred had made them ignorant of some things, Naruto knew that deep inside their hearts, they knew he was nothing but a prisoner of the Kyuubi. It was why they also feared him. They feared that someday he would free the beast. They could only imagine the horrors the creature would cause should it be released from its prison. Naruto. He was snapped out of his thoughts by the angry voice of Yumino Iruka. Can you repeat what I have been saying, Naruto? Naruto had not been listening to what the man had been saying. He had been lost in his thoughts. You see, I wasn't listening, he replied sheepishly with a grin. Iruka glared at him. Get out of my class, you'll come back when you've decided to take my teaching seriously. Naruto said nothing. He just took his small school bag and walked the walk of shame. He could not argue or refuse the punishment he was being given. Iruka was the sensei. He could do whatever he wanted with his students. And Naruto was his student. Had he turned around, he would have seen the smirk on Iruka's face. He left the room and went to the playground. He would go back to class after lunch. His sensei didn't seem he even wanted him in the class. It was better to go back to class after some time had passed. Naruto was alone under a tree, trying to get some sleep. He was bored. None of the kids in the playground were willing to play with him. Sorry, but mother said I shouldn't play with you because you're a bad person, they kept telling him. He cursed the mothers for this. Had they kept their mouths shut, he would have never been so bored. No matter how many times he asked himself why they saw a demon instead of the 7-year-old he was, he could never find a suitable answer. It's the new kid. Let's play with him. Naruto heard a voice speak just beside him. What's your name? Naruto looked up to see two boys, 2 years his senior. They looked alike, and both had black eyes and short brown hair. Both wore dark green short pants, a dark blue long-sleeve shirt, and blue shinobi sandals. He was quiet for a few moments trying to think of a way to handle the situation. He knew that it wouldn't end up well for him by the looks on their faces. He wasn't given enough time to think as he was suddenly lifted up in the air. First Academy rule, answer the question quickly when asked. The one lifting him up said before throwing him away. Naruto showed no reaction as he hit the tree by his back. He was used to pain, he was no stranger to pain, and it would go away sooner or later. One of the boys walked over to him and unzipped his backpack. He had a notebook to copy notes in his lunch. The boy took his things out. Naruto said nothing. Begging didn't help. Nothing helped in this kind of situation. It was better to just let them do what they wanted and get it over with. They would leave him alone after they had finished what they wanted to do with him. A foot crashed into his gut, making him grunt slightly. He didn't dwell on the pain. Something else mattered more than the pain. Naruto watched with sadness as his ramen was spilled to the ground. He didn't have much ramen left or enough money to buy more ramen, for that matter. He had little money left in his monthly allowance. The Sandaime would never give him more money before the month could end. He had been overcharged a few things that he wanted that put a large dent in his wallet. Seeing the food he paid good money for being spilled like it was nothing saddened him, but there was nothing he could do about it. Next time, have a better lunch box, they said as they walked away with proud smirks. They had succeeded in bullying Naruto. What made them proud was that the blonde was so afraid of them, he didn't even try to put up a fight. Naruto stared at his spilled ramen sadly. The next few years were surely going to be hard for him. But he would have to endure if he wants to be a ninja. Naruto's apartment. The first day at the academy had gone far worse than he had anticipated. He had only thought he would have to deal with hateful stares only. But the bullying and insults from other students was not something he had thought he would have a deal with. It was hard, but he would have to endure till he passed the academy. One thing that had been a shock to him was that the senseis were unwilling to teach him. He feared that they would even go as far as to fail him. He had expected them to hate him, but he did not expect them to act the way they did towards him. He had expected them to be smarter than the rest of the village, to be able to understand that he was just a 7-year-old who was suffering from the harsh life he was living. The teachers, after all, teachers were supposed to be smart. If he did not learn other things by himself, he would not learn anything from the academy. Sneaking into the library was his only option. He had been unable to do it in the past year. It was closely guarded, unlike the Jonin's lounge, which was not protected. But he would find a way to be able to get into the library undetected, his life depended on it. Naruto walked to his kitchen and opened a drawer in his kitchen unit. He looked at his store of food, which was uncooked ramen only. He was low on food and did not have enough money to buy any more. He sighed as he awaited the 3 minutes of hell, waiting for ramen to cook. The ramen was cooked, and he ate it blissfully. He felt that he needed more, so he decided to rest before he finished the little left. A knock on his door interrupted him from taking off his jumpsuit. He hurried to open the door. He opened the door and found the old man, Madara, who had saved him on his birthday. He just stood there staring at the old man. Madara was still in black and had 2 plastic bags on his left hand. Are you going to let me in? Naruto shook his head, clearing his thoughts. He let the old man in and closed the door behind him. Madara had already made his way to his kitchen table. Naruto followed suit. He looked at the plastic bags. One had a loaf of bread, apples, and oranges, the other had meat and some foodstuff he didn't know. What can I help you with? Naruto asked softly, trying not to sound rude. I brought you food. I saw that you were running low. Madara replied with a small smile. Naruto looked at Madara curiously before asking, how did you know I was running low on food? He hadn't told anyone that he was running low, not even the Sandaime knew of it. I came here while you were at the academy and checked. He replied with a shrug. You broke into my apartment. Naruto accused with a slight glare to the old man. What if I did? I didn't come here to steal anything. I came here to help you. Naruto asked the first thing that came to his mind, why would you help? The same question from the last time I saved him from the foolish villagers, Madara thought. Do you mean to say why I would help you knowing what is inside of you? He asked, pointing at Naruto's gut. Naruto wasn't surprised that Madara knew that he had the Kyuubi inside of him. Every adult in the village knew, it was only his generation that didn't know. But what surprised him was that the old man said that he knew that Naruto knew what was inside of him. He had realized from smart people that they thought he was not aware of his burden since no one was allowed to talk about it. But the question Madara asked was why he did not expect anyone to be kind to him, so he nodded. I don't see you as others see you. You are just a child to me. Madara said sincerely. Naruto nodded. He knew that a few smart people didn't see him as the Kyuubi. How did you know I knew about the Kyuubi? Not even the Sandaime is aware I know. Madara chuckled. I know a lot more about you than you realize, but that's not why I came here. Naruto nodded. Thank you. But there is no ramen. He finished with a thought. Madara seemed to read his thoughts. You need to eat healthy food and fruits, or your body will not develop properly. Naruto nodded. The Sandaime had told him the same thing, but he didn't take the Sandaime seriously because the old man knew he wasn't allowed in other shops, even if he couldn't afford the food since they would overcharge him. If the Sandaime wanted him to eat healthy food, he would have brought him the food he wanted him to eat, knowing his problem. Thank you. Naruto thanked the old man again. I'm just doing what I can to help. He paused for a moment. How was your first day at the academy? He asked, trying to see if Naruto would lie about it. Naruto frowned. He really didn't want to talk about it. The old man was sincere with him and had helped him. It was fair for him to be honest, and he felt like he could trust the old man. Just like my birthdays, except for this time there was no mob, and I didn't end up in the hospital, but I'll survive. He replied honestly. Madara nodded and smiled slightly. I know, that is why next week I will bring you some books for you to study. Naruto beamed up brightly the moment those words reached his ears. He didn't care for any other things. As long as he was going to get some reading done, he was happy. Really? Madara nodded. Yes, I'm getting old, and I don't have much to do. Helping you will keep me active. Nay, old man, don't you have your own family? Don't call me old man, my name is Madara. He said firmly. Every old person did not like to be reminded that they were old. Naruto grinned widely. Sorry. To answer your question, I don't have any family, they are all dead. He said without any hint of emotion. Naruto just nodded since he had no idea what to say. At least the old man had no one, just like him. Madara stood up. I better get going before it gets too dark to walk. Naruto nodded and walked the man out of the apartment. Madara smiled at Naruto before disappearing once again like he was never there. Naruto closed his door and went to the kitchen with a slight smile on his face. He had to be pleased. He finally had someone willing to help him other than the Sandaime. If Madara did bring him the books like he said he would never have to worry about getting caught in the library trying to steal books. It wouldn't matter if they didn't teach him anything in the academy. He could learn on his own, at his own apartment. His life had taken a new turn he hadn't expected. This day had its surprises, some bad and some good, but the good thing was he was going to sleep with a smile on his face. The food the old man had brought him was another good thing. He took an apple and went to his room to sleep without even packing the food he was given. He told himself he would pack tomorrow. At the moment, he needed to rest. Unknown location. A figure with red eyes, 3 tomos in each, one would define the eyes as the Sharingan, walked in a slightly dark place. He had an impassive gaze on his face and a cane on his right hand. A plant-like figure appeared from the ground in front of him. It had yellow eyes, its right side was white while its left side was black, and it wore a black cloak. How did it go? It went well. The Sharingan wielder replied, his voice not betraying the expression on his face. Did you tell him? The plant-like figure asked in a deep voice. No, not yet. I need to gain his trust first, but if I continue showing myself to him, he will ask questions which will lead me to tell him the truth. What now? For now, we wait, Zetsu, but we won't wait for too long. He replied, disappearing into the darkness. The plant-like figure, now revealed to be Zetsu, said nothing. He sank back into the ground, disappearing like he was never there. Hokage Monument. It has been 3 months since Madara started to bring him things. He now ate without having to worry if he was going to run out of food or not. Even though Naruto himself would deny it, he had gained some weight since eating a healthy diet. Madara brought him healthy food instead of the ramen he ate each time his stomach called for food. It was good for him since he did enjoy eating other food rather than ramen. His studies had progressed at a higher rate than he had expected. At the academy, he still acted like an idiot. It was Madara's idea that he didn't show people that he was smart. It didn't matter though, even if he wanted to show that he was smart, he would never get the chance because he was never asked to answer a question. Naruto agreed with Madara's idea, showing that he was smart would attract a lot of attention he would instead not have drawn. He had gotten close to Madara in such a way that they ate dinner together on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. They always did it in Naruto's apartment. He had never been or seen where Madara lived. The old man never really gave him a clear answer to questions about himself. He always gave him cryptic answers that he couldn't decipher. It was why he needed answers from the old man. He would ask the old man when he visited him today. He was going to get answers one way or the other. Naruto looked over Konohagakure from the Hokage monument with a solemn expression on his face. He sat on top of Shodai's head. He had stopped sitting on top of the Yondaime's head because he sort of hated the man. The Hokage monument was a place that brought him to peace with himself. There was no one to stare at him. He didn't have to listen to the whispers. He enjoyed the cool breeze that washed over him when the day was giving way to night. If he could live upon the monument, he would have moved up here already. He had only seen the Sandaime a few times in the past 3 months. The old man had been asking why he rarely visited him since entering the academy. He had told the old man the part truth of why he no longer visited like he used to. His meetings with Madara were to remain a secret till he felt like telling someone about it or Madara said it was okay. But even if Madara did say it was okay, he never really planned to tell anyone. The part truth he told the Sandaime was that he had been busy with attending the academy. He never missed a day. He was always present each day in class, looking like a fool. Other students made it a recurring matter that they make fun of him for his kill me orange jumpsuit. He didn't care what anyone thought about his jumpsuit, he would wear it till he chooses to abandon it. They could laugh all they wanted. He didn't care. Konoha was peaceful when looking over at it from the Hokage monument. The children were roaming around the village playing games while the elders stood in their groups conversing. One could say it was an ideal village, but what was hidden under those masks of happiness were things that could frighten anyone. It sometimes amused Naruto because if he were to walk within the village streets, the adults would stop conversing and just stare at him, while others pretended like he didn't exist. Yes, there were people within the village who refused to acknowledge his existence. Something like that brought him more pain. It hurt him more than the pain he felt in one of his brutal beatings on his birthdays. Naruto got up and decided to visit the ramen stand. It had been long since he saw the Ikaraku's. Ikaraku ramen stand. Naruto walked calmly to the ramen stand. It seemed that people could sense whenever he decided to visit the ramen stand and make way for him. Most of the time, when he went to the place, it was always empty except when he went with the Sandaime. Naruto took a seat. Today, he would make up for the lost time. Ayame ne-chan. He called out to his sister figure. Ayame was like an older sister to him, just as her father was like a grandfather. Both Ikarakus cared for him and did not care about how the villagers viewed him. They were the only ones to allow him to eat freely without overcharging him. Sometimes they would even give him free ramen when he had no money to pay. Naruto liked them too, they were kind people. They made him feel like he belonged within the village. A brown-haired girl with black eyes and in a white cloth stepped behind the counter from the kitchen. She smiled brightly upon seeing Naruto. She pulled him over into a bone-crushing hug. If Naruto was a pervert or understood adult things, he would have been over the moon. His head was perfectly placed between Ayame's. All it did was make him feel uncomfortable. Ayame noticed and let him go. Naruto, I missed you. I haven't seen you in 3 months, where have you been? Naruto grinned, scratching the back of his head. I got into the ninja academy, so I've been busy lately, he replied. The only words Ayame heard were, Ninja Academy, you're a student at the academy. Naruto nodded proudly. I'm so happy for you. I know father will be pleased too. I'll give you 6 free bowls of ramen as my gift for making it to the academy. Good. Then make it 26 bowls of miso and pork ramen, and keep 'em coming. Naruto said with a wide grin. Ayame shook her head and went on to get Naruto's ramen. The blonde still had his appetite for ramen. The number of ramen bowls Naruto ate still amazed her. Had he been an Akamichi, she wouldn't have been amazed. She was positive that Naruto could eat more bowls of ramen than an Akamichi. Something unheard of, nobody ate more than the Akamichi. But with the way Naruto ate ramen, anything was possible. She came back with 5 bowls, she would get the rest after he finished. How is the academy, have you? She cursed herself for almost asking if he had made friends when she knew that Naruto was not well liked. Boring. All they teach us is some useless things, they haven't started teaching us cool ninja things, Naruto replied. He did guess what Ayame wanted to ask in her unfinished question, but chose not to dwell on it. Ayame nodded. I can't believe my little Naruto is going to be a ninja one day. I will be a ninja, not just a ninja but the greatest ninja in Konoha, believe it. Naruto replied in a loud voice. Ayame smiled at his antics. She might not have seen him in a few months, but he was still the Naruto knew and cared for. When will you graduate? I doubt you'll graduate anytime soon. You are a little too young to be a ninja, she said, going back to the kitchen to get more of Naruto's ramen. I don't know. They haven't told us how long we had to stay in the academy before we can become ninjas, Naruto replied after Ayame had returned with his ramen. Okay. Promise me that you won't disappear again without telling me. It won't happen again, that's a promise. Naruto replied with a grin. Ayame nodded. I'll be in the kitchen, call me if you need anything, she said, disappearing to the kitchen. Naruto nodded and ate his ramen alone. He was happy that Ayame was still the same. He finished all of his bowls and paid for them, leaving the ramen stand. He strolled in the streets of the village, ignoring the whispers from the villagers. Giving the whispers time would only cause a problem to him once he hears what they were saying. It was better to ignore them and live your own life. They could talk, but he wouldn't give it time unless they came and forced him to listen to what they were saying. Naruto increased his pace when his apartment came into view. Naruto's apartment. Today was a day Naruto was going to meet with Madara again. It was this day he was going to get the answers he needed from the old man. Naruto sat down in his kitchen with a solemn look on his face. He was contemplating how he was going to start the conversation with the old man. It did not please him, knowing that people knew more about himself than he did himself. It was the same thing with the Sandaime. The old man knew things about him that he wasn't aware of but chose to keep them from him. He did not care for the reasons behind that decision. The fact was that important information was kept from him intentionally. Keeping things from him was not beneficial to him, in fact, it damned him. Because he had to independently come to conclusions, his mind could only make up things that ended badly. He lived in hell because the truth was being intentionally kept from him. He was condemned to live without knowing who his father or mother was when people knew about it but kept it from him. Madara was another situation. He couldn't figure out what the old man was hiding, but he knew that the old man was hiding things. There was no way Madara could have done all he has done for him out of kindness alone. He could never figure out what the old man was thinking. The old man was impossible to read. He could read the Sandaime, but not always. He was only able to read the old man when the old man wanted him to read him. Oh, he knew that the old man let him read him when he wanted Naruto to see that he was sincere. Other than that, there was nothing at all. A knock on the door snapped him out of his thoughts. He didn't bother to open the door. If it was the old man, he would open the door. That had been something he was used to. He had a feeling that the old man would never do anything to hurt him. That kind of assurance disturbed him as he knew nothing of Madara. He didn't wait too long as Madara stepped into his kitchen in his usual black attire. "Hello, Naruto." Madara greeted the boy. Naruto just nodded. He didn't feel like doing the usual chit-chat. Madara noticed but seemed amused by it. "I have questions that need to be answered." Madara's expression turned into an impassive one. "I was wondering when you would say that." His voice did not betray the look on his face. "Who are you? I know you are a lot more controlled, but I will ask you to be calm and don't freak out with what I'm about to tell you." Naruto raised a brow but nodded. "In the of the history books I gave you, there was a man called Uchiha Madara, correct?" Naruto nodded. "I know it may sound untrue, but I am that man." Naruto's eyes widened. That was just unbelievable. Madara lived in the times of the first Hokage, and he was supposed to be dead by now. That can't be true. Madara died during his battle with the Shadaime. Yes, that's what history books say, but that's not the truth. Even if Madara did survive the encounter, there is no way he could still be alive, unless he was an Uzumaki, but still, even if he was an Uzumaki, he still couldn't possibly be alive at this time. Madara had given Naruto books in the history of both Uzumaki and Senju clans. Madara sighed. The boy was not going to believe him, not now. "Okay. Since you aren't going to believe me about that, how about I tell you about your parents?" Madara suggested, knowing full well that Naruto would forget about the previous conversation in favor of learning something about his parents. He was not disappointed. Naruto was in front of him with wide eyes. "Do you know who they were?" "Yes. Now sit properly because this is going to be hard to take in," he said, knowing that Naruto hated the Yondaime for sealing the Kyuubi inside of him and telling him how close he was related to the Yondaime. Naruto nodded dumbly and went back to his chair. "Let me start with your mother. Your mother was the Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi." The moment those words reached Naruto's ears, his eyes became wide. He could not believe it. His mother was a Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi, and no one has ever spoken of the Kyuubi being sealed inside of another person. He shared the same burden as his mother did. Before it was sealed inside of you. The night of your birth, someone ripped the Kyuubi out of your mother's seal, thus, the Kyuubi went on a rampage. Sadly, she died that night. Her name was Kushina Uzumaki. He was at a loss of words because of what he had been told. He had a mother. He did not just fall from the sky. He was both happy and sad. He now knew a little of his mother. She was a Jinchuriku of the Kyuubi. He had taken up her burden. A part of him always knew that his parents were not alive. His mother died the day he was born, the day the Kyuubi went on a rampage. Kushina Uzumaki, that was his mother's name. A hole in his heart seemed to close slightly, but it could never be completely closed as it lacked a mother's love. Naruto smiled sadly before looking back at Madara. He wanted to thank the old man for telling him something that the Sandaime had failed to. It was of great importance to him to know a little about his parents. His voice betrayed him, not a single word came out from his mouth. Madara continued, "Your father was Minato Namikaze, the Yondaime Hokage. That fool and your mother died sealing the Kyuubi inside of you." Madara said. Naruto's blood began to boil furious, his body was heating, and it began to sweat. Clear anger flashed in his eyes. Madara seemed to like seeing Naruto boil in anger. Before his body could start releasing steam due to the heat on his body, Naruto calmed himself down. The bastard who cursed him was his father. He could not understand how any father would do that to his own child. Minato chose the village over his own son. The thought made him hate the man to a higher level. If he had the power, he would go to the Hokage's monument and destroy that man's face. The anger he felt was enough to make him draw out the Kyuubi's chakra unconsciously, but it receded once he calmed down. He was glad for whoever gave him his mother's name. He hated Namikaze, and everything that has to do with him. He hated the fact that the man's blood was inside of his body. If the Namikaze blood could be drained from his body, he would have it drained. You look a lot like him, have you noticed? The horrors continued for Naruto. He did look like a younger version of the bastard. He had the same blonde hair and blue eyes as the bastard. He could see pictures of the Yondaime smiling at him. You might hate me, but you still my son and you look a lot like me. He banished the thoughts quickly before he could do something he would later regret. Minato was a fool to think that the village would accept you as a hero. Naruto nodded. It was a foolish thought by the great Yondaime Hokage. How come no one has ever spoken of my mother's name? There is nowhere in history books that says she was a Jinchuriku. All records about her were destroyed, and her Jinchuriku status was kept a secret. Only a select few in high positions knew of it. His mother was made non-exist because of foolish beliefs. They celebrated the Yondaime as a hero while his mother was not spoken. She died and no one ever speaks of it. Her name was not even written in the history books. He blamed the Yondaime for that. It was the same as him. He who carried the burden was hated, while the Yondaime who ran off to die was worshipped. He hated the bastard. If he was still alive, he would give nothing more than to see the man die a slow painful death, while he watches. Naruto shook his head, banishing the evil thoughts that were on his mind. Thinking such things was not going to do anything good for him. It would just destroy him from the inside. He looked at Madara. How come you know all of this? I'm sure none of the villagers know of it. If they did, they wouldn't dare hate the only child of their beloved Yondaime. He said the last part bitterly. I know of this because I was Kushina's father, your grandfather. That is why I have been helping you for the past months. Naruto's eyes widened. The fact that the man called himself Uchiha Madara was long forgotten. What was important was that the old man has just said he was his grandfather. A part of him always knew that the old man was connected with him. A few tears dropped from his eyes. He had promised himself that he would never cry again, but he could make an exception just for this time. He was happy. He had a grandfather. Naruto smiled, a true happy smile that Madara had never seen from the boy. A thought popped out of Naruto's head. If you are truly my grandfather, how come you were never there for me in the past years? Madara sighed. I had never returned to the village ever since I defected, and by the time you were born I could no longer walk. It is through all kinds of experiments that I was able to get myself to be mobile again, though not forever. Somehow I believe that you are my grandfather, but I don't believe that you could be Uchiha Madara. Madara nodded. Given it time, and you will believe me. I don't doubt that you are an Uchiha because of your eyes. But I don't get it. You are Uchiha. If you are my grandfather, shouldn't that have made mother an Uchiha? It did, but your grandmother and I part ways when she was still carrying your mother. Your grandmother was an Uzumaki, a seal master. When Kushina was born, she placed a seal on her that somehow made it impossible for Kushina's Uchiha blood to be dominant. Madara explained bitterly. He hated that woman for doing what she did, even though he had no use for a girl. Naruto nodded. Anything was possible with the art of sealing. A giant fur ball was sealed inside of him because of the art. So he would be foolish not to believe that something like that could be done. What he had been told had drained him of his energy. It was enough for his young mind. This is a bit too much for me. I think I need to get some rest. Madara nodded. I will come back in a few days. We have much to discuss, he said, taking his leave. Naruto went away to his bed to get some rest. It would help clear his mind. What he had learned today was too much for him. Tomorrow he was not even going to the academy. He needed to deal with the information he had been told first. The Sandaime had hid too much information from him. He was not going to confront the old man about it. No, everything would continue just as it had been, that was for certain. But other things were surely going to change. He had a grandfather, a family who cared for him. That was enough to change everything. Another certain thing was that he did not have a father and never had a father. As far as he was concerned, Minato Namikaze was not his father. he forfeited that right when he cursed him and died a hero while he was condemned to live a cursed life. Naruto sighed as he jumped into his small bed. He did not even bother to take off his jumpsuit. Rest was more important than undressing. A few days later, Madara was staring at Naruto with an impassive gaze. He had returned to see Naruto and discuss a few things with the boy. There was no need for him to be smiling, he had already told the boy everything. It was why he was not smiling at the moment. Have you cleared your thoughts? Naruto nodded. Yes, grandfather. He replied with a smile. He had come to accept that the old was his grandfather. Madara's face remained impassive. Good, now then you and I have a lot to discuss, but not here. Madara said, taking Naruto's hand. Both disappeared into thin air. Naruto found himself in a dark place. Follow me, Madara said, walking away from Naruto. Naruto followed his grandfather into the darkness. They appeared in what appeared to be a kitchen. Both took their seats. What is this place? This is my hideout. I have been hiding out in here for years now. Are we out of Konoha? Yes, now enough of those questions. I am happy that you have believed that I am truly your grandfather. For a Jinchuriku, especially the Kyubis, you are bound to face tough challenges ahead. Your life will always be in danger of being taken. Once other villages know that you are a Jinchuriku of the Kyubi, they might try to kidnap you for the power of the Kyubi. It is my duty to ensure that when the challenges do come you can protect yourself. That is why from now on as your grandfather I will make sure that you are trained. I will be your sensei. Do you have a problem with that? Although the question was asked, the tone in which the question was asked gave Naruto the thought that he really did not have a choice. So he shook his head. Good, I only have a few years before this body gives up. I have lived too long. In these few years I must train you and make sure that I build your body to be a powerful body. He paused for a moment. Naruto, you will have to live 2 lives from now on. What I show you here can never be revealed to anyone until I say so, is that clear? Naruto nodded. I will cast a genjutsu on you, to hide the changes that will occur to your body once you begin training. When do we begin training? Now. What? Listen boy, I don't have much time. I allowed you to enjoy your childhood for the past months, but from now on you will no longer be pampered like a child. Your childhood is over. Naruto looked at his grandfather with wide eyes. The man was taking over his life. Madara sighed, looking at Naruto. Fine, we will begin your training in a week. For now I will show you around the hideout so that you can become familiar with it. Gigi, what about the academy and Konoha? You will be at Konoha. We will just have to find a way for you to be at 2 places at once as time goes on. Madara showed Naruto around the large hideout. But he did not show Naruto everything. He only showed him the rooms and training ground he would use when he is in the hideout. There was another time for the boy to see everything within the hideout. Naruto had to know everything he needed to know before he saw everything in the hideout. Now was not the right time to tell Naruto everything. After he had done that, he took Naruto back to Konoha. He would go fetch the blonde in a week to begin the training he needed to give the boy. Naruto was excited, although a bit sad that his grandfather was too demanding. He was just happy that he was going to get real training done. Soon he would be able to defend himself. He was also sad that his grandfather did not have much time. But a few years was enough, at least he would have known his grandfather. His grandfather spoke of his death like he was going to die soon. Academy. Naruto walked into the class with his usual grin planted on his face. He had been early for the class today because he had missed classes the previous 2 days. He went on to take a sit next to a sleeping boy, with black hair. Shikamaru. Naruto called out, waking up the sleeping boy. He had been able to find a few people he could talk with and play with whenever he was at the academy. They were like his friends. Nara Shikamaru, the Nara clan heir, was smart, too smart for his own good. He had been the first person to talk to Naruto kindly. Shikamaru, despite being a genius like any Nara, he was lazy. The boy spent his time sleeping or looking at the clouds. He seemed to be always bored, like there is nothing that can interest him. Shikamaru was understanding and different from other kids. He knew that Naruto was hated, through observation. It was why he had invited Naruto to play with him and his friends. Despite knowing that Naruto was hated, Shikamaru did not why. His brains had been unable to find an answer. Shikamaru had a friend who was also a clan heir, Choji Akamichi. Choji was just as kind as Shikamaru, though he did not possess a great mind as his best friend. Like all Akamichi, Choji was always eating chips at the academy. Nothing other than food excited the boy. He would even go as far as to drool if someone spoke of barbecued meat. Naruto met the boy when Shikamaru had asked him to come and play with him. Choji and Shikamaru were the only two Naruto would consider friends. He spent his breaks with them. Both avoided trouble at all cost. Shikamaru found it too troublesome to get involved in a hustle. The two were not the only people who did not treat Naruto with hatred. He also knew Kiba Inuzuka, the loud, brash heir of the Inuzuka clan. Kiba always liked to be seen as the dominant alpha. Naruto guessed it was just the Inuzuka blood acting up. It was as if Kiba felt he needed to make his position as alpha known, whenever he felt threatened. Kiba was always with his puppy, Akamaru. They were always together. Kiba would freak out should Akamaru go missing for a minute. It was a custom that any Inuzuka have a dog as a partner, as their fighting style involved working with their partners, which were their dogs. Shino Aburame, the Aburame clan heir. Naruto did not understand the boy at all. Shino was always quiet and never showed any emotion. He was smart but not like Shikamaru. The troublesome blonde, do you have to wake me up every time you find me sleeping? Shikamaru grunted, shifting his head. Naruto grinned, did your mother wake you up too early again? If there was something that Shikamaru found more troublesome than anything, it was his mother, and he also feared her more than anything. His mother did not like his lazy attitude. It was why she had taken it upon herself to wake Shikamaru each morning. If she did not do something like that, Shikamaru would avoid coming to the academy as he found it boring and troublesome, or he would be late to class every day. Yes, that troublesome woman never lets me sleep peacefully. Where have you been in the past days? Home. Did not feel like attending the previous days. Naruto replied with a shrug. Man, I wish I was you. Shikamaru said, going back to sleep, making Naruto shake his head. Naruto felt a pair of eyes staring at him. He turned around to see the person who had been staring at him. The Hyuga heiress looked away quickly upon seeing that she'd been caught staring. Hyuga Hinata. Naruto thought, looking at the Hyuga heiress. He found the girl weird. She acted oddly around him. What Naruto had been able to understand about the girl was that she was very shy and lacked self-confidence. Her behavior was amusing to say the least. It was also unheard of, for a Hyuga to lack self-confidence, especially a heiress of the clan. Hyuga were much more disciplined and self-controlled, taught a superiority complex at a young age. It made Naruto wonder what might have happened to make the girl lose her self-confidence. That side of the girl, a side that lacked confidence, Naruto saw it as pathetic. The world had no place for people who did not believe in themselves. Once you fail to believe in yourself, you were hopeless. You can never hope to achieve anything if you lack self-confidence. But despite her lack of self-confidence, Naruto did notice that she was kind-hearted. Naruto's eyes were taken off the girl as the doors burst open, revealing Sasuke Uchiha, the top student of the class. Naruto did not like the Uchiha's attitude. It was why he never spent a second wasting his thoughts on the boy. The Uchiha looked out of breath. Fangirls? Naruto thought. The Uchiha was popular in the female department. He was usually being chased around the academy by his fangirls. Sasuke did not seem to like girls. In fact, he tried by all means to avoid them. When he could not avoid them, he ignored them when they tried to speak to him. Some of the boys in the class wished they had the young Uchiha's luck when it came to girls. Girls threw themselves at the Uchiha, while they had to try hard to get a girl to talk with them. Kiba resented Sasuke for that fact. He even went on as far as to try to Sasuke to get the girls to like him and leave Sasuke. The result? Kiba ended up in a hospital bed, not because he got beat up by Sasuke, no, it was rather the fangirls that pummeled the boy. From that day till now, Kiba has learned to hate Sasuke. The doors burst open again. Two girls rushed into the class. One was wearing a pink dress, she had pink hair, and green eyes. This girl's name was Haruno Sakura, the president of the Uchiha fan club. On her right was a blonde-haired girl same height as Sakura. The girl's name was Ino Yamanaka, heir of the Yamanaka clan. She was the vice president of the Uchiha fan club. Both girls were huge admirers of Sasuke. They were best friends and rivals when it came to fighting for Sasuke's attention and affection. None of the girls have had any luck so far, but their failure on encouraged them to do more. Sakura was way too loud for Naruto's liking. He has clashed with her a few times. Sasuke knew that Naruto was not the most liked in the class, thus he often chose to sit next to Naruto to drive away the fangirls. His choice drove away most of the fangirls but not Sakura. She would yell at Naruto to get him to go sit somewhere else so she could sit next to her, Sasuke-kun. Naruto obviously refused to do so each time. But his refusal would only get him smacked in the face by the girl. Despite her being weak, her punches really hurt. The class began to fill and the mutterings began. Naruto thought of taking a nap but decided against it seeing that Iruka would show up in class at any time soon. A minute later the Chunin teacher walked inside the class with a stack of paper. The class quieted down, as the students did not want to fall victim of Iruka's wrath. Iruka smiled at his students. Good morning my students, I hope you are prepared for test. Naruto looked at Shikamaru with shock written all over his face. Hey Shikamaru, why did not you tell that there was a test today? It was too troublesome, Shikamaru said with a yawn. Naruto said nothing. He did not care about passing the test. He still had a few years in the academy to make up for lost time should it be necessary. He was the demon and an idiot he would give them, for anyway. They were given 30 minutes to complete the test. The test was not that hard, it was just a history test. There was nothing that Naruto did not know, but to be an idiot that people wanted to see, he answered the questions that even someone with half brains would answer. The only questions he answered were the ones where they asked the names of Hokages. After the test, Iruka gave them a lecture before letting them go home. Naruto walked beside Choji and Shikamaru as they made their way out of the academy grounds. Naruto, Shikamaru and I are going to get some barbecued pork. You can come with us if you want to. Choji said, rubbing his stomach. Naruto shook his head. Sorry Choji, I will pass today. Man, I had thought we would do another eating contest. Well, that just means more food for me. Naruto chuckled. I will see you guys tomorrow, he said, increasing his pace. Come on Shikamaru, let's get going before your mother comes looking for you. Shikamaru said nothing, he just followed Choji. If his mother was to find him at this time, she would have him do hard work he would rather avoid. A few days later, the Uchiha massacre, one of the greatest tragedies to have ever occurred in Konoha, beside the Kyuubi's rampage. The whole Uchiha clan was massacred by Uchiha Itachi, only leaving his little brother Uchiha Sasuke alive. One man massacred an entire clan in a single night. The Uchiha clan was supposed to be the strongest clan in Konoha since their great rivals, the Senju, had now gone extinct, and only one person was alive from the great Senju clan. Uchiha Itachi. He was said to be a prodigy, the strongest Uchiha alive. Naruto wondered what kind of power Itachi must have possessed to be able to massacre an entire clan in one night. He had to be surely powerful to pull off something like that. The reason the Uchiha had killed his clan was that he wanted to test his power. It was a reason that would make everyone to think that he had lost it, power had corrupted him. From what Naruto had been hearing about Itachi was that Itachi had been a kind and peaceful person before he became an Anbu. After he had become an Anbu, he became cold and distant. A change that not many liked, but he still did his job as a shinobi with all his heart. What was certain from those who knew him was that Itachi loved Konoha. That was being questioned by everyone, who loved a village and still massacres the village's strongest clan, his own family. The Uchiha fled the village after he had massacred his own clan and was now labeled an S-rank missing nin. Only a select few had been able to reach that level of being ranked S-rank. S-rank level shinobi could fight against a Kage, but not all could defeat a Kage. Still, for Itachi to reach the level of S-rank still being a teen was something worth applauding. Not many people could achieve the kind of feat that Uchiha Itachi had achieved. Konoha was in chaos. Their great clan had been massacred. Some clans increased security in their compounds to ensure that the tragedy that fell on the Uchiha did not to hit them. No one knew if another clan prodigy would massacre his clan just to test his strength. Itachi had done it. Who knew another prodigy would not follow his path? Naruto did not feel sad for that a clan he was part of was massacred. He did not care about what happened to them. He just pitied Sasuke, knowing that the young Uchiha would be crushed. Having your own brother kill your parents and your clan was something that one could not just shrug off as if it was nothing. Naruto sighed as he walked inside his grandfather's hideout. His grandfather was beside him. They arrived at a large clearing. The place Madara had told Naruto would be his training ground. Grandfather, do you know of the Uchiha clan massacre? Madara nodded. Yes, those traitors got what they deserved. Naruto looked at his grandfather curiously. He had come to accept his grandfather was indeed Uchiha Madara, the former Uchiha clan leader and co-founder of Konohagakure. He thought the man would be a little sad that a clan he once led was massacred. Why do you call them traitors? When I founded Konoha with that other man, Konoha selected him as first Hokage instead of me. I told my clan that the Senju would oppress us and seek to control us. But those fools refused to believe me and supported Hashirama. They said I had lost it. Over the past years the Uchiha were stripped of their power in Konoha, and reduced to mere police force with no real power. Madara said looking at Naruto. Naruto could see that his grandfather was truly happy that the Uchiha clan had been massacred. Another thing he noticed was that his grandfather held a great deal of animosity towards Hashirama. But he still respected the man for his power. How powerful do you think Uchiha Itachi was, to be able to massacre his own clan? He is strong for a shinobi of this generation, but he is nowhere strong as I was in my prime. Madara paused for a moment. Do you really believe that Itachi massacred the Uchiha clan because he wanted to test his power? Naruto nodded. Madara shook his head. They were killed because of ignorance. They had come to realize that Konoha leaders were pushing them away from the village they founded. They had lost any power they had and could no longer influence the village in any way. They had also lost trust in the eyes of many Konoha villagers because they were blamed for the Kyuubi rampage, as some believed that the Kyuubi was being controlled by a Sharingan. Had they listened to me, nothing like this would have happened. I still don't understand how that got them killed. They were attempting a coup d'état to take over the village. It was the only way they could get their power back. Something like that would have led to a civil war. Other villages like Kumo and Iwa would have taken the opportunity to attack Konoha. Madara explained, seeing it no point in leaving Naruto out in the dark about the truth. Naruto had wide eyes at the implications of what his grandfather was saying, so Itachi killed his clan to avoid a civil war. Madara nodded. You catch on fast. How do you know this, Gigi? You spend your time here and the massacre only occurred 4 days ago. Madara smiled, placing his hand on top of Naruto's head. I know everything that happens in Konoha. Nothing can be hidden from me. I am a co-founder of the village. When the village was built, I was there. He paused, retrieving his hand. Now shall we begin our training? Yes. I think I will stay here for a few days since Academy has been closed for 3 weeks. Naruto said. Madara nodded. He already knew that. Before we begin your training, I want you to meet someone. Zetsu appeared from the ground. Naruto, this is Zetsu. He already knows you. Naruto waved his hand at Zetsu and then looked at Madara. What is he? Madara chuckled slightly. He is my spy, my creation. Naruto only understood spy. He did not understand what Madara meant by creation. It was not possible for someone to create life, right? You can go, Zetsu. Zetsu sank back to the ground. Madara turned to Naruto. We will begin your training in physical training. I need you to have a strong body. For the next year you will not go back to Konoha, but you will be in training each day. After you awaken your Sharingan, we can then focus on ninjutsu. Won't the Sandaime start looking for me if I go missing for that long? Don't worry, I will help you create a blood clone that will replace you in Konoha for the next year. The clone will last for a year. It will be a replica of you. No one will tell the difference. Naruto nodded and smiled brightly. Now let's begin with the training. He yelled, struggling to contain his excitement. Madara grinned. It was a grin that made Naruto to think twice about allowing his grandfather to train him. The grin Madara had promised pain, a painful training that Naruto would soon have to endure. Madara did not stop grinning as he was busy picturing the torture he was going to put Naruto through. Grandfather, are you okay? Madara stopped grinning. Yay, I am okay. Put this weights on. Naruto put on the weights on his legs, but found it nearly impossible to move. He looked at his grandfather thinking that he would let him half the weight, but his grandfather shook his head. Do 50 laps, after that 50 sit-ups, 100 punches and kicks on that dummy. I will be watching your progress from here. Naruto stood unmoving for a minute. His grandfather hit him in the head with his cane, telling him to begin his training. Naruto dragged his body and began his training, which he believed was a little harsh for a 7-year-old. At the end of the day, Naruto had lost consciousness. Zetsu had to carry him off to his room within the huge hideout. When he woke up, he cursed his grandfather. Madara was quick to point out that with Naruto's healing abilities, because he housed the Kyuubi, any damaged muscles would be healed while he was sleeping. It would be foolish not to take that advantage. Madara said. Though Naruto could agree it would be foolish not to take advantage of his healing abilities, it did not mean he had to like the kind of training his grandfather was putting him through. Don't worry, it only hurts this much because it was your first day. Once you get used to the weights, and your body adapts to the training program, you won't be complaining anymore. Madara said. Naruto just nodded. He needed to rest. The old man had told him when he woke up they would have to begin the training in the morning, only taking breaks to let him recover. 6 months later, Madara had just finished telling Naruto about the Sage of Six Paths. He needed to start at the beginning for Naruto to understand why he was going to do things to his body. Naruto listened well when his grandfather was telling him about the sage and his legendary eyes, the Rinnegan. The eyes that gave the sage the ability to learn any jutsu in existence, control over life and death. Something like that really made the man a god. You had to be god to have control over life and death, to be able to bring the dead back to life. The sage had 2 children, Senju and Uchiha. The Senju possessed the sage's physical power and life force, while Uchiha possessed the sage's eyes. In my fight with Hashirama, I was able to get his cells and infused them in my body. As I told you, the sage was made out of Uchiha and Senju. I experimented on myself trying to achieve the power of the sage. With Hashirama's cells I was able to get his power, the ability to do Mokuden Jutsu. At my old age, I was able to unlock the Rinnegan because I had both Uchiha and Senju powers. Naruto looked at his grandfather's eyes. Madara spoke. I transplanted them to a Uzumaki orphan. Why did you do that? He could not understand why someone would give away a powerful dojutsu like the Rinnegan. I will tell you about it later. Right now we have other things to deal with. Naruto nodded. So the reason you have Hashirama's face in your chest is because you infused his cells into yourself. Madara nodded. Naruto, I want to infuse my cells in Hashirama's cells. I might hate that man, but I respect him for his power. I know Mokuden is powerful, which is why I want you to be able to use it so that you may be able to stand against your future enemies. Having Senju cells will allow you to awaken the Rinnegan once the cells bond with yours. Naruto was quiet for a few minutes. Whether he liked it or not, his grandfather seemed set on to do what he wanted to do on his body. Grandfather, will I also have Hashirama's face on my chest? I already look like Namikaze, and to have Hashirama's face on my body will be too much for me. Madara had been teaching Naruto to hate Senju, especially Hashirama. So to Naruto, looking like his father who he hated was already punishment enough. Having Hashirama's face on his chest would be too much for him to bear, since his grandfather he made him hate the man. You won't have Hashirama's face on your chest. What I am going to be doing is to infuse both my and Hashirama's cells with your body. Once the cells bond with your body, they will be part of your own body. You will no longer have Hashirama's Mokuden and Senju cells, but you will have your own Mokuden cells. Your body will produce both Senju and Uchiha blood once I'm with your body. If it is done like me, Hashirama's cells will overcome you, killing you when your body is weak and you don't have the chakra to suppress them. At your age, they can overcome you at any moment. Okay, and your cells? I already have Uchiha blood. Madara shrugged, I want you to have my power too. I was just as powerful as Hashirama. It is only fair that you also have my cells. Naruto shook his head. His grandfather was too proud of his own power. Fine, let's do this. I need to go back to training. Naruto said. He had come to enjoy his training, once he had gotten used to the weights his grandfather made him wear. He felt strong physically. Despite not training in ninjutsu, he enjoyed his training. He was building power and speed, also making his body tough so it could endure long fights without tiring too easily. One may have an arsenal of jutsus, but if you are slow and are fighting against a fast enemy, your jutsu become useless because you would not be able to do hand seals, as the enemy will get you before you even think of a jutsu you want to use. Madara nodded and motioned for Naruto to lie down. He grinned as he put Naruto into sleep. He was building up a powerful body. He only wished he was still young to see the kind of power the boy would have at his disposal. The boy could have proved to be an interesting opponent that would push him to his limits, only Hashirama had been able to do it. There was no other shinobi that made him seriously other than Hashirama. 2 years later, a 10-year-old Naruto was watching over Konoha from the Hokage monument. Both his eyes showed a fully matured Sharingan. After his grandfather had finished working on his body, he had Zetsu take him out of the hideout. He was taken to a bandit camp and Zetsu disappeared, leaving him in front of a camp of 25 overgrown men. They not pleased seeing Naruto in their camp and were not just going to let him go away. Stepping inside their camp meant he had seen things that they prefer that they not be seen by other people. If Naruto was to run off and tell people of what he had seen, it would prove troubling for them. The village nearby was surely going to hire shinobi to get rid of them. Shinobi were not people they liked to deal with. Naruto knew that he was going to have to fight with the bandits. He had been itching for a battle after all. He needed to test how far he had gone with his training. And so he fought with his enemies. They were weak. Not strong as shinobi, but their numbers proved too much for Naruto. He was almost killed, but his experience of almost getting killed awakened his Sharingan. Zetsu came and finished off the remaining bandits. He took a guilt-stricken Naruto back to the hideout. Naruto felt horrible for killing. To take someone's life had left him feeling like a monster. Especially after knowing that he had just killed just so he could awaken his Sharingan. He was happy that he had awakened his Sharingan, but the way it was awakened was not a way he liked. It took a beat down by Madara's cane for Naruto to stop feeling guilty. The experience of killing and Madara's influence left Naruto with little emotions to display. Over the past 2 years he had worked in ninjutsu and maturing his Sharingan. He trained mostly alone since his grandfather was old and not as mobile as a sensei should be. He only gave Naruto instructions and advised whenever Naruto was having troubles with something. The thing he hated about his grandfather was that he was a perfectionist. Every little mistake that Naruto made was pointed out. He was never satisfied with good, only perfect made him smile. Hashirama's cells were hard to control, his grandfather had told him be patient. The cells were just too hard to control since they had yet to completely bond with his body. Madara had suggested he keep training physically and give time for the cells to bond other than forcing the issue. Naruto listened but worked on fire jutsu. His grandfather was a master of the fire element. With his cells in his body, it also gave him higher control over the fire element. Soon he would be a master of the fire element, with enough training. After he had awakened the Sharingan, he had decided against coming back to the village, so that he may focus on maturing his Sharingan and learning ninjutsu. He let the blood clone continue to be in his place at the village. His grandfather had told him to be careful that no one saw him with his Sharingan activated. Madara had said that because Naruto had his Sharingan activated, always. His secrets meant that he could not train within the village. Training within the village would be risking him getting caught doing things he shouldn't be doing. He had returned today. Madara had told him to go back to the village for some time. Zetsu would be used if Madara wanted to see him. The old man's body was giving up. He had told Naruto to go back to Konoha while he dealt with the problem. Naruto just hoped that the problem would be dealt with. He did not know how he would react should his grandfather's body give up. Naruto was busy sorting out the memories of the clone he had dispelled. The blood clone gave him all the memories it attained on its 2.5 life. The memories were too many. Naruto had been sitting in a meditative position for the past 5 hours. A major headache was troubling him due to the overload of memories he received. Nothing much had changed in Konoha. The Sandaime still visited him at his apartment once a month. The villagers had been treating Sasuke like a king because he was the last faithful Uchiha. But the Uchiha seemed not to care how they treated him, he just avoided everyone. Looking at the memories, Naruto shook his head at what Sasuke had become because of his brother's actions. Naruto thought for a moment. Sasuke had always been the way he was at the moment, it was just that before the massacre he was not cold and an emo brooding king. But he was distant and seemed to have something dark hidden within his heart. Naruto wondered what the Uchiha would do should he know why his brother massacred their clan. The Uchiha massacre had left the boy unstable. He seemed to lose control over all his emotions when someone mentioned Itachi. Itachi had become a taboo in the presence of Sasuke. The village hated Itachi. They did not know the sacrifice he made. Itachi was like him in some sense. Both were hated even though they were heroes. But it was different with Itachi, since nobody knew he was a hero. With him they refused accepting him as a hero even when he protects the village each day by housing the Kyuubi. Due to Madara's influence, Naruto had also come to thank Itachi for the Uchiha clan massacre. They had betrayed his grandfather. Had they not done that, they would never have been wiped out by a single man, no a teen with a Mangekyo Sharingan. Their arrogance was another that got them killed. They might have been powerful to think that they could take on a village had been a foolish thought on their part. The Mangekyo Sharingan was a powerful tool. Dangerous, wielded by a demented person. Madara had told Naruto all of the Mangekyo's abilities. Thus Naruto respected anyone who had awakened the eyes. Naruto sighed as he got up and deactivated his Sharingan. He decided to walk back to his apartment. He needed to kill time, it was still in the afternoon. He had nothing better to do for the rest of the day. It seems they still haven't changed. Naruto thought, walking in the streets of Konoha. The villagers still had their hateful glares, while some ignored his presence. His clone did not walk around the village much often, it spent most of its time at the academy and in his apartment. With the time he spent getting lectures from his grandfather, Naruto could care less if they stared at him or not. It longer hurt him, in fact it amused. They were ignorant fools blinded by hatred. He would be a fool too if he cared for what ignorant fools say and do with their time. It was better to let the fools amuse themselves, for now. Sooner or later he would be the one laughing openly at them. For now he could not tell them they were fools. If he did, they would surely rally up everyone to try to burn and skin him alive for insulting them. Naruto walked past a lake. He stopped when he saw Sasuke sitting there alone. Sasuke noticed Naruto and stared at him with cold, uncaring eyes before looking away from the blonde. Naruto shrugged Sasuke's cold stare and continued walking at the direction of his apartment. Sasuke chose to be distant from other people. No one chose for him. He chose to take the path of revenge. Revenge was never a pretty thing. It destroys you from the inside out, until there is nothing left. What would be left would be a body that used to be a person, a shadow, and memories that would soon be forgotten. Naruto walked inside of his apartment. He breathed in the air inside of his apartment. He had missed his cold and lonely home. It has not been home to him for the past 2 years. Naruto smiled at himself and went to his small bedroom. He took off his jumpsuit and jumped into bed. It might have been too early for him to sleep, but he had nothing to do. Konoha was not like his grandfather's hideout where he could do so many things without getting bored. His mind seemed to agree with him. It did not take long for him to drift into unconsciousness bliss. A few days later, the Forest of Death. Today Naruto had been strolling around the training ground. He was bored and decided to take a walk within the forest. Only a select few used the training ground. It was a good place for one to be alone. He could not walk around the streets of Konoha because there was always a pair of Byakugan eyes watching him. It made him feel uncomfortable, to think that a girl, not just any girl, a Hyuga heiress, was stalking him. Ever since he returned, he had noticed that most of the times the girl was following him around the village. The girl was weird indeed. Naruto came to a conclusion that his clone had been unable to sense her, because it was a copy of the untrained him. Now he sensed chakra better. The girl was just not good at hiding her position. He had been able to know she was following him rather easily. He climbed on top of a tree and sat on a branch. He still had a lot to do with his training. He was wasting time sitting around doing nothing. The academy had nothing to give him, but in order for him to be a ninja he had to attend and pass. Zetsu's head formed beside him. It was only the white part that appeared. Zetsu had 2 personalities. Madara called them Black Zetsu and White Zetsu. Zetsu was originally all white, but his grandfather had planted his nature and memories on him. But it resulted in creating Black Zetsu, which was smart, serious, and strong. Black Zetsu became Madara's will. It could do Mokuden Jutsu as Zetsu had been created from Hashirama's cells. White Zetsu was weak, often playful, and never was serious. It hated being reminded that it was weak. The beings could separate from one another. They could function without the other half. Naruto looked at White Zetsu. If he came here alone, it must mean Black Zetsu was somewhere else. Zetsu smiled at Naruto. You look bored. His voice was not deep as Black Zetsu's. Naruto nodded. There is nothing to do here other than going to the damn academy. He paused for a moment. What brings you here? Your grandfather wants to see. Do you know why? Naruto asked. He hoped that the old man was okay. If I told you, then you wouldn't have to go back to the hideout and see your grandfather. I guess you're right, Naruto said. He made a wood clone to replace him while he went away. A wood clone was strong, but did not transfer back its memories to the original. Naruto did not want another headache. A wood clone had been something his grandfather had taught him. It was the only Mokuden Jutsu he could do. You stay here for now, return to the apartment later on, don't miss a day of the academy, and never forget to keep your cover persona. Naruto said, disappearing in a swirl of leaves. The only way he could go to the hideout without his grandfather was use the teleportation seal in his apartment, which could only be activated by his blood and chakra. Zetsu sank back to the tree branch. Unknown location. Naruto looked at his grandfather's face. He looked a lot more serious than he had ever seen him before. But he was happy. That seemed fine. It seemed that he had solved his problems. He sighed in relief. Naruto, I'm going to tell you some important things, and I need you to listen carefully. Naruto nodded. Do you remember the room I told you had tablets that contained valuable information on them that only an Uchiha and those with the Rinnegan could read? Naruto nodded. The information that is in there is the history of the Raikudo Sennin, chakra and the Bijus. After we are done here, I want you to spend as much time you like making sure that the information in those tablets is in your head. Naruto could only nod. His grandfather never asked him to do something unless it was important. In my years of being a shinobi, I came to hate the shinobi system. I devised a plan that would allow me to rule the world, to be God. But by the time I had all the necessary tools to do that plan, I was already old, and could no longer carry out that plan. During the Third Ninja World War, I found a young Uchiha boy. His name was Uchiha Obito. He was nearly dead when I found him. His right side of the body was crushed. I took the boy and brought him back to the hideout, and fixed up his body. I did that using Hashirama's cells. When he had recovered, he chose to return back to Konoha. I allowed him to go, but he returned shortly afterwards to stay with me. I told him of my plan. He liked the plan and agreed to take part in it. I used a very powerful genjutsu on him to tell him the knowledge I had, that would help him with the plan. I knew that I was going to die soon and I needed to give him what he needed to be successful in the plan. I trained him as best as I could so that he could be strong and told him to use my name once I had died. But he betrayed me to rule the world himself, and he is out there gathering the strongest shinobi to see that the plan succeeds. He uses my name to recruit the strongest shinobi. He uses the name Uchiha Madara to those he wants to recruit in Tobi while doing other things. Naruto absorbed all the information his grandfather gave him. He was a little mad that someone would betray his grandfather. What was this plan, grandfather? How did you plan to rule the world? Madara smiled slightly. I engraved the whole plan in the tablets. You will read more about it in detail when you read the tablets. For now I will tell you what the plan needed to be a success. He paused for a moment, catching his breath. For the plan to succeed, I had to collect all the bijus and seal them into the Gedo Mazo. The Gedo Mazo is a vessel. It can only be controlled by someone who has the Rinnegan. Obito created an organization called Akatsuki. I know their purpose is to collect all bijus once they know all their locations and strengths. The group is comprised of S-rank criminals only. There are 10 of them. Grandfather, you said someone with the Rinnegan could control the vessel in which the bijus are sealed into. Does this mean that Obito awakened the Rinnegan? Madara shook his head. No, Obito can't awaken the Rinnegan despite having both Uchiha and Senju powers. His body is not perfect like yours. I did tell you that I had awakened the Rinnegan and transplanted it to someone else, correct? Naruto nodded. That was before I had taken in Obito. The name of the child I transplanted my Rinnegan is Naruto Uzumaki. Obito, using my name and his knowledge of the Rinnegan, managed to get Nagato to work with him. Nagato controls the vessel, and is the figurehead leader of the Akatsuki while Obito operates behind the scenes. When he is not operating behind the scene, he uses the name Tobi, keeping the name of Madara a secret to those in the group who aren't aware of it. Naruto now understood that since he was a Jinchuriku, it meant he was in danger of being captured too. His grandfather had thought of a plan to rule the world by capturing the bijus. He figured the bijus were needed for their power. From what his grandfather had told him, the bijus had large amounts of chakra that no man could have. The Kyuubi was said to have almost an infinite chakra supply, being the strongest of the bijus. He did not know if his grandfather still wanted to rule the world or if he wanted him to rule the world once he becomes powerful enough to do so. He had no intentions of ruling the world. He did not know what he would say if his grandfather was to ask him to rule the world. Grandfather, isn't Tobi afraid that you will tell the world that he is not Madara? He did leave you alive. No, he has no such fears. He knows that I can't do anything. Look at me, I'm old. I can't stop him if I wanted to. He would have been fearful if he knew about you, but he doesn't, for now that is. Naruto did not need to know that the fool left him alive just so he could watch him take over the world using his name. Naruto nodded. I guess Zetsu has everything to do with why you know everything he is planning. Yes, Zetsu is quite useful when it comes to gathering information. What is it that you want me to do, grandfather? Do you still plan on ruling the world? Madara shook his head. I no longer have such plans. I don't care what happens to the world, I'm going to die soon. But what I plan for you is to take back everything that belongs to me. Naruto waited for his fate. With the secrets of your body you can become powerful, even powerful than I was at my prime. You will restore the Uchiha and take Konoha back from the fools that rule it. If they don't make you Hokage you can do it by force, just make sure that you rule Konoha. Naruto smiled slightly. At least his fate was not that bad as he had thought it would be. What about Tobi and the Rinnegan? Kill the fool and you can do whatever you want with the Rinnegan. Naruto nodded. Is he the one who ripped the Kyuubi out of mother the day I was born? Madara nodded. Well, I guess I have more reasons to want him dead. Madara smiled. Things were going according to plan. He was still surprised that Naruto did not argue with him over becoming the leader of Konoha, a village he hates. Still, what worried him was what would happen when time came for him to die. When he said he no longer cared for what happened to the world because he was going to die, he saw a flicker of emotion in Naruto's eyes. It seemed that Naruto had still not come to accept that he was going to die in a couple of years. Grandfather, this means I have to train harder than I have been. Madara nodded. Yes, it is why I had given you some time off, because in a month you will no longer be going back to Konoha until your clone graduates at the academy. Are you saying that I'm going to stop hiding after I graduate? No. When you graduate, it will be risky to let a clone be your place since you will be doing missions. You will still keep your secrets. I told you before that you will only reveal some of them after I die. He saw it again when he said, die, but said nothing. Naruto nodded. Who was he to deny his grandfather's wishes? Naruto, I want you to return to Konoha. Zetsu will come and fetch you in a month to continue your training. Hi, Gigi. Madara smiled as Naruto went away to his room so he could teleport back to Konoha. Zetsu appeared from behind him. That went well. Black Zetsu said in his deep voice. Yes, he took everything in far better than I had expected. At least now he can train harder knowing what his goals are. You really are serious about this, aren't you? What I do now, I do for him. Once he awakens the Rinnegan he will become God. Other villagers will fight him in fear of his power. But they will not defeat him. Once that happens it will be easy for him to influence the elemental nations. Madara replied, not directly answering Zetsu's question, but Zetsu understood. Madara no longer wanted to rule the world, he wanted his grandchild to live a better life and change the shinobi world with the power of God he would come to gain once he awakens the Rinnegan. A change in the shinobi world was what Madara wanted, that was why he wanted to rule it. Konoha. Naruto sat down at his kitchen. He had a lot on his mind. He now knew what he lived for, his dream that his grandfather had set for him. He would make his grandfather proud by achieving his goals. He had been lost living without a sound goal. He had only been living, training just so he could protect himself, so that he can survive. But now he had a goal, an ambition that he would make a reality, and there was no one who would step in his way. Toba's plans still troubled him, but his grandfather's words that he could be stronger than him soothed his worries. But still he was worried. It did not make him feel good knowing that there was a group that was only focused on hunting people like down. He was sure that no one in the village knew of the Akatsuki. His grandfather knew things that no one knew of. At the moment he just had to focus on getting strong so he could defend himself and defeat his enemies. His grandfather had assured him that Tobi did not know about his relations with him. That was a positive. He could surprise the Uchiha when he does find out about his relations with Madara. With his dreams he now had to accept that he was an Uchiha. The Uchiha clan was his clan, he was part of the clan. It was no longer his grandfather's, Itachi, or Sasuke's clan only, but it was also his clan. He was one of the few remaining Uchihas in the world. Thinking of it, Naruto smiled. It meant that he was going to have to use Uchiha as his name. He would drop Uzumaki and use Uchiha only. He did not have to use that cursed Namikaze's name, which was a good thing for him. Uchiha Naruto, he thought with a smile. The villagers were going to surely die when they come to find out that he was an Uchiha. He could almost see the looks on their faces when they hear of it. Even when he hated his father, he would let the village know that Namikaze was his father just to make them feel worse about themselves. He could almost see them begging for forgiveness, not that he would care about their apologies. He would just let them know of his heritage just to see that look on their faces. It would be priceless. Even his grandfather would laugh. Uchiha and Namikaze were already taken off. What was left was Uzumaki. It was the only thing that he had left of his mother. She was never seen as a hero, nor was her name written anywhere. She had been made non-existent. He would correct that, in time. Naruto was brought out of his thoughts when he heard a knock on the door. He figured it was the Sandaime. He had been expecting the old man for his monthly visits. He went to open the door and led the old man back to the kitchen. The Sandaime smiled softly while he took a sit. "It's good to you again, my boy." Naruto smiled and nodded. "It's good to see you too, Gigi. I'm glad you are still lively as always. I brought you your allowance," he said, giving Naruto an envelope. Naruto took it with a wide grin. "How are things at the academy? Are your senseis still sabotaging your academics?" Naruto shook his head. "Iruka sensei no longer glares at me, and sometimes he even smiles at me." Naruto replied. He was surprised when the Chunin stopped glaring at him and started being nice to him. He was no longer kicked out of the academy. Iruka would even go as far as to have him woken up should he be sleeping inside the class, just so that he could listen to the lecture. Although he had been able to see traces of hatred at the Chunin's eyes, he knew that the Chunin was trying to get over his hatred, not hide it. The Sandaime smiled brightly upon hearing Naruto's answer. "Good, I expect you to get room result now that your sensei is being fair with you." Naruto grinned. He had expected the Sandaime to say something like that. "I will try my best, Gigi." Sarutobi smiled, getting up. "I will hear from Iruka about your progress. I will be going now, I have some paperwork to finish." Naruto nodded. "Goodbye, Gigi." The Sandaime walked away, leaving Naruto alone. The Sandaime spoke Iruka's sensei like he was familiar with it. He guessed the Sandaime was responsible for the Chunin teacher's change of heart. The old man, despite his lies, never stopped trying to make his life better. Unknown location. Naruto walked inside his grandfather's hideout with his Sharingan activated. A month had passed and he had returned to continue with his training. His grandfather was waiting for him beside Zetsu. Naruto stopped in front of them. "Let's get going," Madara said, walking away. Naruto followed behind with Zetsu.